You know, it's funny because last year at this time, we decided that being as it was the Halloween time frame, the best thing we should do is to interview a ghost. Now, we did interview that ghost, and it was quite a hit. It's gone nationwide. It's gone viral. But we're not going to interview a ghost this time. I thought perhaps we could interview a disembodied hand, but then I realized we see that all the time when White comes up and tries to fix something he screwed up. So here we sit on a day before Halloween, and we almost wonder to ourselves, why do we even bring it up? Who cares? Is Halloween worth celebrating? Is this something we should think about? Isn't there more important things that we could talk about on Brad Stine Has Issues? Things that are actually changing the world or destroying the world? Aren't there things that really, something we can hang our hat on and say, this matters. This is something that is worth the effort, the time for us to take on a Monday night when we could be doing all kinds of things like making casseroles. We could be making casseroles. Perhaps for some people who get together and have teas, they do teas. Maybe you want to do casseroles. I don't know. Who am I to judge you? But here's what I do know. If you want to talk about things like that, from the deepest, darkest depths of the worst case scenario to the great opportunities of what could and will one day come to fix it all. That's what's going to happen on this particular Brad Stine Has Issues every Monday. So it's an exciting time. But what's most exciting is right before we hit the theme song, I get to look at my little thing and see that my son, who set it up just for me, didn't make it work.
It's not my fault.
I know.
You don't know literally what to look for.
I know. Well, here's what I do know.
Also,
yeah,
it appears as though our internet does not like our podcast today.
Okay, what's going on?
It's telling me that we are in the yellow, which means that something else in this household is eating up a lot of internet bandwidth.
Oh, okay.
So there may be some buffering for the audience.
Okay.
There's not much that I can do about it except yell at whoever's, I don't know, got Netflix on or
Well, I'll
something.
tell you one thing you can do is you can hit our theme song and let's get this crazy, crazy train a-rolling. Hit it, son. Yeah, Hey folks, it's God's Comic Brad Stine. This is Brad Stine Has Issues, where comedy, conservatism, and Christianity collide in a cacophony, I got it, son, of clarity. This is the night before Halloween. My son just crawled up. I saw him, then he crawled back. But here's something I forgot to tell you guys.
Couldn't find it, eh?
No, I had to discover it on my own. It doesn't matter. Let's not go off on that. You know, we have gone off on our inability to find the thing we need to look at on a regular basis.
Inability?
Yes. So let's
really?
Let's try
because
some.
I found it in seconds.
You
In
know.
fact, I always find it in seconds. You're the one who has never found it on your own.
That's not true.
You're right. Until now.
Let me tell you something. I don't know if people realize this, but this is Brad Stine Has Issues, where comedy, conservatism, and Christianity collide in a cacophony of clarity. Did I say that yet?
I think you may have.
I did, so
honestly, I was too busy crawling on the floor of Solid Snake style to get your iPad to work. So I wasn't really paying that much attention.
Maybe what we need to do is you start with the iPad, and then you make sure it works, and then you kind of scoot it over here. Or maybe we could have a drone fly it over and drop it here. That would be, that would add to the...
You just learn how to press the button that turns it on.
No, I don't want to do that.
Staring you in the face.
I spend big, huge dough to get you to be able to push the proper buttons, and I don't want to deal with it. Listen, we have a GoPro right here. Does it work?
Yeah, it does.
Show me.
I'm trying to show you. At the moment I try to press the button, I get a sticking notification on my computer about something no one cares about. All right. Say hello to the people at a slightly Dutch angle.
Hi, everyone.
I mean,
For those of you who've never met me up close, this is what I look like. It's frightening. It's spooky.
Perfect for Halloween.
But wouldn't it be? Yeah, for Halloween, isn't this the way it should look? But look how beautiful the colors are, Wyatt. I think the colors are even better from this GoPro angle than from our nice camera, expensive camera, I can't afford it camera angle. What's that all about?
I honestly don't know, but I've always been amazed at how good the GoPro looks, considering, you know.
Maybe the GoPro's possessed by a ghost. What do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Was that a good special effect?
Definitely the audience.
Listen, last week.
Catch on to how you did that.
Last week, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I was in South Carolina. Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was in South Carolina last week because I was at Southern Evangelical Seminary's conference where they have the intellectuals and apologists, and then they had me do comedy and kind of do some, well, this was 2 weeks ago, actually, and then do comedy and then do some talking about apologetics and philosophy and this and that, because it makes me kind of what makes me unique and why my career is so challenging, because I've decided to go full bore into my faith. And some people hate that, Wyatt, if you haven't noticed. But nevertheless, it's who I am and what I'm going to do. But then I forgot to mention that the last week I ended up back in South Carolina, but this time I was performing at a church. And, you know, I mentioned it last week, but you know what I didn't do, son?
No, what didn't you do?
Did I mention that Karen Boyd showed up?
You did, and that was all you did about it,
I believe. What do you mean that's all I did?
You just mentioned she was there, and that was the end of it.
She was there. What else should there be?
I don't know. I mean, it's not like we had a picture or anything of it.
Well, I'll tell you what. If that's the way you're going to feel about it, what if I were to conjure up a picture? So I've decided that I'm going to see if I can mentally will a picture onto this screen of me and Karen Boyd to prove she actually showed up.
Well, it's failing because I don't tell you see. Oh, what is that?
That's what happens when you use your telekinetic powers. That's me and Karen Boyd hanging out, being fun together. She showed up live, son, and how do you not love that? There she is. There's me and Karen. And Karen. Why, look how attractive I look.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Karen's gorgeous and whatnot, but look at me.
Look, it's the day before Halloween. I'll let you have this one.
No, I was dressed as a comedian.
As opposed to
this
get up?
A salesman of hardware like you do?
If that is what you think all of us hardware reps wear on a regular basis, I'm insulted, sir.
I happen to know that you don't, that you guys wear bibs.
No. I wear that outfit. Nobody else does, though. It's mine.
Lord have mercy. It's ridiculous.
And it does work well with the bib. Thank you very much.
For those of you who don't know, my son works at Lowe's part-time, and he does that not because he likes the extra money, because it's a lot, but because he loves screwdrivers. He loves ratchets. He loves anything that has to do with your wrist twisting and something being driven into wood. What has caused you to have that kind of an insight? Why that kind of a compulsion?
Well, this has actually become a surprise to you all. That is my least favorite part about the job. The part that I really like, locks. Padlocks, deadbolts,
all right, so let's talk
bike locks. Give me all of them.
Can you pick a lock?
I can, yeah.
How'd you learn?
Well, I wanted to.
Okay.
So I bought a lock picking kit.
Yeah.
And a practice lock. And I practiced lock picking on the practice lock until I could practice on real locks and open them.
Let's try this again. Who bought the lock picking kit?
Well, you bought the first one and it sucked, so I bought a new one that's good.
Who bought the invisible lock so you could look at it and see how the tumblers work?
Well, you bought it, but it's...
And who did I give it to then afterwards?
Me.
So I wanted you to reframe your analysis with some proper accreditation.
I understand what you wanted me to do, but I'm not doing it. 2 years of loin jokes add up.
Yeah, well, maybe we should lock them out. But here's the thing that's interesting about locks. Did you ever think about this? And I want you guys to think about it like this, True. So oftentimes, and for those of you who are brand new to the program of Brad Stine Has Issues, you may not know this or not, but why? You know another thing I just realized? I can't find... oh, there it is. There's the people. I couldn't find the people, so I could say hi to them. So I just found it, though, so that's cool. But here's the thing that I was going to ask you guys about, but let's go ahead and just jump in here real quick first off. First off, who's watching this?
A few people. We've got...
Nick Kress.
Carrie
Tudor, always first. Saint Nick. Carrie Tudor is the one we couldn't think of her name the other day. That's embarrassing. Nicholas M. Blake, hello from Florida. Karen Boyd has some spooky ghosts, and they all look like they have a black eye. Louis Leone, Wyatt is losing his job soon to AI. More than likely.
Trust me, AI would never last more than a week in my job.
Aaron Oaks said Lowe's story, and then Ashley Hodge says Lowe's story. And then Louis Leon just unplugged the router. And then Destiny Wilhelm, is that portrait to the right of Brad Stine has issues? New. Not sure if it's new or if I'm just oblivious.
I'm sorry, you haven't noticed that for the past, 6 months or so? When did you get that, 6, 7 months ago?
Listen, I got to tell you guys something.
I mean, it's
there is a portrait on the wall, and I forgot that we did that.
Yeah.
But you're going to very shortly know in a few episodes where that came from, and it's going to be an amazing guest who's going to come on in just a couple weeks, and you're going to just see where that portrait came from. So all I can tell you guys about that portrait, good eyes, by the way, I might add, all I can say about it is it was hand drawn with a pencil.
We cannot confirm or deny who it is.
That's right. I'm late. Still no notification from Facebook. That's Cater Tutor. Nick Crest, master locks open just looking at them, almost faster than the key.
I have literally seen master locks be opened with other master locks.
Oh, my Lord.
This is a true statement.
Nicholas said, Blake, hi, Brad and White. Hey, look what Karen Boyd said. Did you all like my clueless pants? Haha, as if. And then, let's see. Donald Judson, hi, Christy Williams Butcher, first time here. Well, you know what? Last week, I was saying to you, when and what will it take for us to get a Christy or a Williams or a Butcher on our show? And here's one who's all three. She showed up for the first time. So to me, that's prescient.
You know, I would love to have a Butcher on as like a guest.
Yes.
Because maybe then we'd get our ox tongue random commenter from a year back who hasn't given us our thing yet.
I would have loved that. Let's see. Roxy Galindez is here. James Rowan Sr., me, Jim from Baltimore. Nobody says hi. Nobody says hi to Jim? Why? Do you and I ever say hi to James? Right. I don't know who you're talking about. Carrie Tudor, love coming to see you all, Brad and Wyatt. Yeah. Catherine Summuller, Kathy from Washington State. What is going on with the signal? Get those grandkids off the video games. And why do keys open up multiple locks? All right, so you're right. Something has happened to our thing. But who could be on it?
Well, let's see. Who's the literal only other person in this house right now?
But what would they have to be on to have
Any sort of streaming service.
I thought that we had created a service to where we could bypass anybody else jumping on.
No, maybe that was a dream you had? Or
do you want to run over to some arbitrary person and tell them to turn off their arbitrary thing so we can keep going?
I can arbitrarily try.
All right, why don't you do that? I'm going to keep the ball rolling here. So here's what's going on, folks. If you are new to Brad Stine Has Issues, and I say this every week because there's always somebody new because the rest of the people flee in horror, except for Karen, because she loves her pants. And she had clueless plans. And Nick, because he feels at this point that he's got no options, and that's sad to hear. But we still have some of the old regulars that aren't here. But here's the thing. So the couple things you need to know right off the bat. Number one, I always try to have interesting guests, but eclectic guests. I like to have things from all over the map because most of the comedy podcasts that I saw were comedians talking to comedians, and that's fine. I mean, nothing wrong with people laughing, but I got to be honest with you. I'm not that enthralled by a lot of comedians. I'm not. I have had three on. Nicholas DeSantos, who's a comedian in England, who was canceled for being a conservative. I had Jim Brewer from SNL and Victoria Jackson from SNL. So those are the three comics I've had on at this point. Now, I don't mind having others on, but I just want people that are kind of interesting and intriguing. And that's who's going to have them. And I did speak to a comic friend of mine that I knew from way back in the beginning days. And I think I'm going to bring him on here shortly, and we will discuss his life and the people he's worked with. And it'll be an interesting story of the back rooms of comedy and comedians. But Wyatt, I wanted them to know that when you and I talk about things, it's off the cuff. We don't know where we're going to go. And one of the things that people seem to have become enthralled by is Lowe's, your stories of Lowe's, because they're hysterical. So before we move on, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Is there a Lowe's story that we can jump to? And if not, that's okay. We'll go somewhere else. But I don't want to leave you hanging in case there's something interesting.
I wouldn't call it a funny story, but there was something that happened.
All right, let's hear.
Okay, so This was one of my shortest shifts I've ever had.
Okay.
At this Lowe's.
When was this?
This was last Wednesday.
Okay.
Now, it started out like any regular shift.
Yeah.
You know, people were stealing, and I had to tell them to make sure that they, you know, didn't steal too much. So I'm doing that. I go and leave after like 5 minutes of tailing these people because it was hopeless. Like, they weren't going to stop. And it was very clear to basically all of us that these two individuals, well, let me just put it this way. They were high on something, and it sure as heck wasn't life.
Okay.
So I eventually left to go, you know, go along the aisles just to watch for people and stuff. And as I'm walking down one of our most high traffic areas, I'm just about to leave when I noticed something on the ground. And I didn't really think much of it, but something about it was just strange enough to catch my eye. So I look back at it, and sitting right in the middle of this aisle, where lots of people, you know, are walking to and fro, was a syringe. Like an actual medical grade syringe. Filled with mystery liquid.
Oh, so it was like a full-blown, it had the plunger and the whole cylinder.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing. It wasn't just like
whole shebang, whole 9 yards. Yep.
Wow. Still filled with mystery liquid?
Yeah, it was something.
Wow.
So, but even if it wasn't, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, right.
You know, like definitely gonna lower the property value of the store. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So we have some guy, like an employee, literally standing over top it to make sure nobody touches this thing.
Yeah.
As I go get my boss because I'm not qualified to deal with that. Nor do I want to deal with that.
Pick it up. Throw it away.
No. You see, it's considered a biohazard. So you need like special equipment and training and stuff. So I could get my boss. He goes to get it, comes back a minute later and says, "Well, did you get rid of it?" And I said, "No. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, it's gone." The guy was still there, by the way, making sure nobody got to it. The thing was gone.
It vanished.
Just
As he was sitting next to the syringe, it disappeared.
Just grew legs and walked
And
off.
he didn't see it either.
No. To this day, none of us know what happens to it. And to top it all off, after that brilliant detective work by us, we managed to find out that the people who tried to steal from us got caught, and we had an entire basket of stuff to put away that they tried to pawn off us.
So how did you all finally stop him? Because you're to me, the store policy was let people steal, which I can't stand. What has happened to America where we let people steal? Now, I get it in California because they said it's like a misdemeanor, less than $1,000, so they just let them run wild. And so California deserves the hell that it's become. You deserve to pay a price for stupidity, idiocy, insolence, foolishness, absurdity, not holding humans accountable to evil behavior. So you deserve everything you get. But we're in the South. We're in the red state. We're in Tennessee. Why aren't you able to go and say, dude, you can't steal stuff?
Two reasons. Number one, it helps keep Lowe's out of any liability in case it turns violent.
Okay.
Yeah. And the second most important reason why we don't do it, just because they let you get away with it doesn't mean they didn't notice it. What they do is the asset protection team builds a case around you and what happened.
Okay.
And they will continue to build that case until you've stolen enough over weeks, months, or years for it to be a federally prosecutable thing.
So they will try to get him after it's gone too far.
Yes, but they basically want the maximum punishment possible. So
and that has to assume that this person's going to come back and keep it up.
Yes, it does assume that.
They just go from one Lowe's to another, then the guy can just live off of free Lowe's crap for the rest of his life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, that's basically it, is that they primarily just don't want any accountability.
So the litigation lawyers have once again made it impossible for us to live a virtuous life because the people that steal suddenly can cry racism, or they can cry sexism, or they can cry blindism. Because if it was like a blind guy stealing stuff, he can say, "You're just doing this because I'm blind. I didn't even know what I was doing. I made a mistake. I was walking out the door, but how can it be my fault? I'm blind."
I believe the term for that would be ableism.
Maybe.
Because blindism just makes me think of someone who only steals blinds. Which is like not even a thing that people really do anymore. Like, we're getting rid of our blinds, I think.
You might be onto something.
Or maybe I'm thinking of shuttles. Well, one of those two things is just going out the window, literally.
That's funny because blinds make me shudder.
Okay, where's my stupid... I'll give you that one.
Folks, tomorrow is Halloween. Wyatt, do you ever think about Halloween? Do you like Halloween? Do you do anything for Halloween? I'm sure Lowe's does.
Oh yeah, we do plenty of things for Halloween.
What do you do?
In July.
Yeah. Are they still got crap out to buy?
No.
No. It's all gone?
In fact, we discounted our Halloween candy, like clearanced it out 75% off the beginning of October.
Oh, okay. So you dumped it. All right. So let me ask you this.
Not even the week before it happened. The literal beginning of the month of the holiday, we decide Christmas time. Yay, buy $1,000 worth of presents. Buy a $1,200 11-foot plastic tree that's literally only good for one day out of the year.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this.
That is the current state of our economy.
So last year we interviewed a ghost. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Because I remember you were excited when he came in. You had to go down and answer the door and get him in.
Well, I mean, I didn't really have to answer the door because, ghosts, but it's just a common courtesy,
You know what? How many people aren't courteous of ghosts?
Probably the people who invoke their wrath. Because, ever seen A Christmas Carol?
Yes.
Scrooge wasn't having a fun time with those ghosts.
That's right. That's a good point. That's a beautiful ghost story. But
from most perspectives.
no, it is. It's so poignant. It's so poignant. Because most ghost things, here's what's always bothered me about ghosts. People fear the ghost. I'm scared of ghosts. I don't want a ghost to show up. And yet, when the ghost shows up, it normally does stuff like this. Did you see that? What happened? The door shut. What? Yeah, the door shut. The door shut. It's a ghost. What are you scared of? How's that going to harm you?
Yeah.
You've never heard a ghost stab somebody.
Yeah.
Never. You never hear the ghost grabbed them by the scruff of the neck and toss them out the third-story window. That would make me fear a ghost. They never touch you. They, shut a door. They make a rattling sound. Heck, a raccoon can do that.
I love the
What is the point of giving so much status to a ghost who literally does hardly anything to deserve the reputation it's got for fearing it when it doesn't even touch you, Wyatt?
First of all, what you're describing is a poltergeist, a specific type of ghost that interacts with objects. Second of all, I really like the mental image of being afraid of ghosts that shut the door.
Yeah.
Because you're basically at that point just afraid of the concept of automation.
Yeah.
Do these people freak out every time they go to the supermarket and the door opens by itself?
Yes.
Wait, how do we know that those doors are actually laser operated? What if it's just a ghost who works for the company?
There you go, Wyatt.
It's genius.
Even
when you're dead, you can still come into work.
And you know what? They're not going to pay them a lot. They don't eat.
Well,
they don't
you don't
need clothing. They don't use the restroom. They don't need a house. They're going to be super, super cheap. I will bet you donuts to dollars that the Lowe's doors are open because Lowe's have hired ghosts.
Well, I mean, the issue is, if it's so economical to hire ghosts to do this, why don't you just hire ghosts to do everything if they're so cheap?
Well, at least when it comes to shutting and opening.
Well, no, but we've established poltergeists can interact with objects. They can move things around. They can totally handle a cash register, especially because of all the self-checkouts that are going on. They just need to be there to watch out for people. And here's the best part. If somebody shoplifts, they can definitely haunt them for that, because no one's going to sue a ghost.
You know what? You know one thing a poltergeist could do?
What?
Walk off with a syringe.
Oh, my goodness. It makes sense now.
It's all coming together. The poltergeist was on his way back to his shift of opening the automatic doors, saw the syringe, and said, "This will scare the crap out of these people."
He was just being a good Samaritan. He's been dead for so long, he forgot that scares people. He's so used to just moving stuff like he was alive, he's forgotten that he's dead. And now it's just a floating syringe. Ooh, spooky.
I did not know we would get that much weight out of that.
Well, that's just what happens when Brad Stine has issues.
How about we reward the people who sat through that and endured that by doing this? You know, last year I may have shown this clip, and I probably did. I don't remember what. I don't remember what happened last week, let alone a year from last-ish.
You apparently don't know how to talk.
I don't, not always. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just play it by ear. But I did want to show a clip because it's been making the rounds. It does every Halloween. And, you know, I got to say, there's a lot of jokes that I've come up with in my life, and you know, I don't know how to express this, but if you're a comic, you do a joke and people laugh, and you're glad. And I'm sure it's like a musician that makes a song and he likes it, but there's some things you like more than others. There's some songs you just enjoyed that one more, and there's some routines I've come up with that I just kind of liked better than others. I was kind of proud of. And I'm going to say this was one of them. This was a thing where I was trying to discover a little bit about Halloween, and should we fear Halloween? And as a Christian, you know, my people would start saying, "Oh, you get it, it's demonic and it's satanic." And I go, okay, I get it. There's some evil images out there that I'm not into. But I'm like, if I dressed up like a pirate and just wanted to get free candy, to me, I'm going to take an advantage.
The issue is Halloween is a scary month. And all of that, you know, satanic imagery is also typically seen as scary. Just because of that, that doesn't mean that everything about the holiday is evil, though. It's just scary.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And the thing is, if I'm dressed like
people don't seem to understand that there is a difference.
If I'm dressed like an athlete or what, the point of the matter is, when I did it as a kid, trick or treat, I just wanted free candy. That's
Who
it.
doesn't want free candy?
That's all I wanted.
I want free candy.
I know. Well, me too. And don't think I won't go out and go grab me some and just dress up. I'll dress up like an old guy that shouldn't be trick or treating.
Oh my! I'll act like a middle of his 20s guy who can't go trick or treating but wants candy.
Ha! See? Why, we're on to something. I've got an idea. Why don't you play a clip of something I wrote many, many years ago that is perfect for this time of year, and I think you'll get a couple chuckles out of it. And if you don't, too late. You're just going to have to stick around for our guest. But right now, here's a little joke about Halloween. Wyatt, if you could, make it happen like a poltergeist.
It's amazing to me what's happening out there. But it's the worldview. It's the worldview that changes the way things are. And if you're in here right now, you're an atheist and you snuck in for a free show, let me tell you something. Your holiday's coming. Your holiday's coming. You know what the second most popular holiday is in this country? Halloween. Yeah, that's how it works. Let's weigh this out. Okay, peace on earth, goodwill towards men, and boom! Equally uplifting, don't you think, folks? Oh, by the way, have you ever noticed boo's the only scare word we know? It's the only thing you're ever taught to scare people is the word boo. If you didn't know boo, we wouldn't know what to do. They'd open the door and you'd be like... All we know is boo, and yet boo is not inherently scary. Watch, boo, 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 nothing! So why do people that think they did something creative? Boo, gotcha, okay? No, it's the fact you were hiding in the refrigerator. That's what got me. You could have said pretty much anything. Monkey wrench. What do you got, man? I'm not not a big fan of Halloween. I'm not afraid of Halloween. I'm not scared of Halloween. There's nothing on this earth that frightens me. I fear God only. But the thing that's interesting about Halloween is I think it's an inherently flawed holiday because it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Here's how it's supposed to work. Trick or treat. I tricked you. You got to give me candy. Woo! The problem is I wasn't tricked. They always come on the same day. I knew you were coming. No trick, hence no treat. It's too popular. The only way trick or treat would work now is if you came like in May. 3 o'clock in the morning. What is going on? Trick or treat. You got me. Okay. Woo. All right, here's a pickle. It's a different worldview. And worldviews matter. I have people that come up to me all the time and tell me about that. Oh, I don't believe in God. It doesn't hurt me. I'm not hurting anybody. Yes, you are. Every decision a human being makes affects everybody else because your worldview of God, if he exists, makes you choose certain things. And those who say he does not exist makes you choose something else. And it affects everybody. You see, it makes people become fanatic. Oh, there's all the religious fanatics. Yes, there are. There's also animal rights fanatics. You've heard these people. The ones that have decided that they have all the answers. Don't wear fur. Well, that's fine for you. I'd like to wear fur. Don't wear fur! Well, I'd like an option, but you certainly... Hey, Bob, I just toy with these people. Yeah, I'm wearing fur underwear right now. I have fur toys, fur car, fur house. I go to the store and they go paper, plastic. I say fur! They don't want you to wear fur, but they wear leather. Leather's dried meat, for crying out loud. People spending $500 to wear beef jerky with a zipper. That's wrong. I want fur. I need fur. Why? Because I don't have any. I get cold. We're humans. We need fur. You take the hairiest man you've ever seen, probably a Greek. Put him next to a polar bear. That's Kojak right there, my friends.
You know, as you were watching that, I felt that it was important that I kind of went through and saw what people were saying, because I can't sit and watch you guys talk to each other while I'm talking, because I'm thinking I'm here to probably give you some information, some inspiration, some entertainment. Next thing you know, you guys are having conversations on your own. Here's one I saw. Please don't tell me Lowe's is evil. Menards is totally bought, and don't even get me started on Home Depot, or should I say Home Depot. Now, that's Christy Williams Butcher, that girl that we talked about earlier, Wyatt. 2 lightsabers don't exist in reality. That would deter shoplifting. So we got some people. Now, here's one thought I wanted to throw your way. It's from Chris Forey. You know Chris?
Name rings a bell.
Yeah. Halloween has evil roots, but so does humankind, right? Every day belongs to God. The problem is you're wrong for not celebrating Halloween, and you're not for not. Let the fruits of our daily walk define our walk, not whether we participate in or not on Halloween. Kids nowadays, my kids anyways, want to put on a stormtrooper suit and get some free candy. Me too. Something to consider. It's a good opportunity to meet your neighbors and begin to build relationships, which may lead to Christ. Remember, many folks are pretty reclusive. Halloween may be an excuse to meet them. Regardless, honor Christ in all we do. What do you think about that insight, Wyatt?
Yeah, basically what I'm thinking. Just, know that there was a difference between just wanting to get free candy one day at the year.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Chris Forey, I think, was piggybacking on your shot where you said spooky versus evil, like Casper versus Jason. Good point. Yes, sir, there's a difference. So here we sit wondering, if we should or shouldn't celebrate Halloween. And I always thought to myself, what is fear anyways? What is spooky? What is scary? What is it? What is it exactly? Is it something that is designed to teach us to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves? Like you get scared, I'm ramping up, because there's some people would consider it what they call fight or flight. You've heard of that, Wyatt?
Yeah, that's basically it. Except
so you either take off or you try to endure this situation the best you can.
I never understood, because I think that fight or flight is primarily what scary is.
Yeah.
Which is always hilarious to me when a horror movie comes out, because you can't fight the TV. Well,
Yeah.
you can, but you'd lose.
Yeah.
So, your only option is to either just sit there and be afraid, or just cross your arms the entire time going, I would have punched him.
Yeah. Oh, you mean from the show?
Yeah, from the show. Like fight or flight is, if you see a threat, you either run from it or you fight it. If
Why
there's a
is
threat
it?
on a TV screen, you ain't fighting that and winning.
So how come when you see people fleeing the monster, they always turn their ankle? Their car never starts when they get in, initially.
Well, that's all just a practical application of Murphy's Law.
And elaborate.
Well, Murphy's Law says that everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You see, horror villains have an unknown, hidden ability to just crank Murphy's Law up to its maximum. But only if it's scary.
Here's what I was wondering. So monsters are one thing,
Yes.
but most of the scary movies are like humans, I guess, that are just deranged.
I disagree.
Jason.
The scariest movie villain is not Jason Voorhees. It's not Freddy Krueger. It's not Michael Myers. It's that stinking Twister from the movie Twister.
Hmm?
You've never seen that?
I've seen Twister. That's a very old movie.
Yeah, it is a PG-13 rated movie, and you know why it's not PG?
No.
And I quote by the people who rate it, depictions of extreme weather. I'm not kidding. The Twister is the reason the movie is PG-13.
In case you're triggered by extreme weather.
And in case a cow flying across the sky at Mach 2 concerns you, don't watch this movie.
I never thought about that. Extreme weather would be something.
Think about that? That's a stupid thing to think about.
Why is lightning and thunder scary?
Simple. Loud boom, go boom. I mean, if you think
So
about
it's just a jump scare.
If you think about it, that's sort of what boo is. It's just simulating a thunderstrike.
So thunder is God's jump scare.
Yeah, exactly. So thunder is God's air horn.
Why do we as adults still walk into a dark room and feel there's a hovering, floating hand or entity to grab us, and we search for the light to turn it on, and we know there's no floating hand, and yet we still fear it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I actually have a really similar thing when I'm sleeping. So if I wake up in the middle of the night and I have to go to the bathroom and get some water.
Yeah.
So.
You know why? The fact that you're getting water is why you have to go to the bathroom.
Fair enough.
Okay.
But on the floor, right before my door, every single time, without fail, there always appears to be this smiling face in the floor, and the reason for it is because the window in my room is angled perfectly so that the moonlight sort of shines through the cracks in it when I have the shutters up, and it just so happens to make what in the dark looks like a human face staring at me, and it's every time it gets me.
On the floor?
On the wooden floor, yes.
So what do you do when you see it?
Turn the lights on and see it go away and go woo!
But does it make you kind of go, ah?
Yeah, every time. It's just
Really?
Yeah, every time.
Is it because you came
mine.
out of a deep sleep and you're just kind of still muddled, and then suddenly, ah!
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? I once had a nightmare. Woke up, kept my eyes closed, and then thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, my stuffed animal is going to eat me if I open my eyes." So I kept them closed for about 15 minutes. That happened to me.
And this was 10 days ago?
Last week, yeah.
Okay. So here you say, what is your stuffed animal, by the way?
It is a wolf cub that we got from Joshua Tree.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We were in Joshua Tree over the summer with my family, and on that trip, we went to the fault line, San Andreas fault line. You could see it from down the mountain and saw the big crack in the earth where the whole frickin' continent is breaking into pieces. And that was a tourist attraction. So that's kind of weird. That'd be like going to Pompeii and saying, let's go into the volcano and see how it's doing. weird, almost a gruesome thing that this fault line one day is going to end California. And you know what? If it did,
if anything,
we'd not even notice now.
Look, if anything, it's seriously inconsiderate by tempting us with what we want and then never delivering. If they are going to threaten to throw California into the Pacific, do it.
Yeah.
Don't just say you will and then spend 80 billion years not, okay? I want what you promised me.
Get on with it, then. Is that what you're saying? Just get on with it.
Well, I mean, honestly...
Send them out. Move them on.
I'm pretty sure if we just compromised and they just took Hollywood out into the ocean, I'd be okay with that at this point, really. Because that's like 90% of the problem.
Isn't that too bad, though?
Not really.
Because I like art, and I like movies.
I do, too.
And it's too bad.
In fact, I love art. That's why I won't miss them.
Yeah.
Because they don't do art anymore.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Oh, my God. It's genuinely... I think I may have seen that movie 20 times. And I'd watch it again in a heartbeat. It's good.
So good.
It's so good.
Oh. So I don't know if I ever told you this.
You haven't.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to tell you again. 1975, I think, but it could be 74. I had a friend, and we used to go to movies all the time. That's all we did. Me and this one friend of mine. So we're in middle school, and we would do one of the things we do. There was what was called, this was in Orange, California. So there was the Orange Mall 6. They had 6 theaters next to each other when they first started doing those kind of strip mall movie things. So we would go in, and we would get the times for all the movies. We would buy our ticket. We'd go watch the movie, and then we'd stick around afterwards. And then when nobody looked, we'd sneak in and do the next one. So we'd watch 2 or 3 movies a day if we could, for free, because we were cheating in line. And the way we looked at it was, if Lowe's doesn't care, why should this movie theater? So we would continue to get our free movies as best we can. But we'd also pay, and we'd go see movies. But one thing about that back in those days, in the 60s and 70s, is they had double headers. Not double headers, double features, they called them, double features. And that was cool. You got your money's worth. You got to see 2 movies for the price of 1. Now, this really happened a lot in drive-in theaters, but once in a while that would happen in these walk-ins as well. And we would try to go to the double features because you get more for your money. We didn't have a lot of money. Why? We were kids. Will you leave us alone? So anyways, we went to a movie theater, and this was in, I think this might have been, I can't remember where, but it was at a different theater. But I don't remember what the first movie was. I don't remember. But I remember that the second movie, the double feature, was from a group that I had seen some of their material on television in 1974 called Monty Python's Flying Circus. It had just been released into the United States. So it had to be 74 or 3 or 4, but I think 4. And I started watching. It was on like PBS. And I'm like, well, these guys are great. And it was, some of it was over my head because they're pretty sophisticated dudes. But I loved it. And it was really kind of my first foray into comedy and seeing how I kind of enjoyed comedy. So suddenly we see these guys are making a movie. It's called Monty Python in the Holy Grail. It was the second feature of this double feature. I didn't really know anything about it. We didn't know. There was no previews. There was no anticipation. We just knew that we liked these guys on TV. Let's see what this movie's all about. And it starts. And that's when they started rolling the credits. You think everything's fine. And then it said something about moose wrangler, whatever. And then they kept going. And next thing you know, they had all this moose. Do you remember that? It was all in the credits about the moose. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, like... The subtitles, especially talking about trading the moose.
Yeah, so there's a lot to do with the moose. But, and then, of course, it opens with the misty hill, and you hear the clop, 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 and they pan up, and there's the guy pretending to be on a horse, and they're clopping some coconuts together, and I realized this is going to be a good movie. And Wyatt, I'm a comedian, so, you know, I enjoy comedy, and I appreciate good comedy. I'm not an easy laugher, at least out loud laugher. Not easy. I don't know if I had ever in my lifetime laughed out loud at a movie. I don't know. I can't remember that I did. I'm young. I'm 14 or 15 years old. I'm watching Monty Python. It's magnificent. I mean, a couple things that the whole thing was magnificent, but certainly one of the highlights was the Black Knight.
Yeah.
Black Knight is just now again. Once you've seen it a few times, you know the Black Knight. The first time you see it is just so ridiculous, so perfect. They're cutting all of his limbs off. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. It's just a flesh wound. You never forget that.
I've had worse.
But yes, but then they had the wonderful French army that was mocking them and talking about pigeons and bringing coconuts.
It was swallows, but
swallows.
Keep going.
And as the movie's wrapping up, they get to the Bridge of Doom that they have to get across. And of course, these guys, what is your name? I'm Arthur, the King of Britain. You know, what is your quest to seek the Holy Grail? What is your favorite color? Blue. Okay. And then Sir Robin's like, that's easy. I can do it. He runs in. What's your name? It's Sir Robin. What's your quest to seek the Holy Grail? What is, I don't remember what it was.
It was like what's the capital of some city?
Tunisia. I don't know that. And he goes flying out into which is hysterical. So here comes the next guy. What's your name? What's your quest? What's your favorite color? Oh, it's green. No. Wah! So here comes
Arthur. Yeah, Arthur's next.
Arthur's next. What is your name? Sir Arthur, King of the Britons. What is your quest? I seek the Holy Grail. What is the air velocity of a swallow carrying a coke?
No.
Say it.
What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? What? African or European swallow? I don't know that.
Oh, I laughed out loud for, it felt like 5 minutes. The whole place, I had never just laughed out loud at that guy getting thrown because of this callback to the swallow. Wyatt, it was done on a low budget. They almost didn't get it made. I think George Harrison of the Beatles helped fund it to make it get through. It is... it's got to be the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life.
It is one of the few movies I have seen that 50 years later I am still seeing being sold on store shelves. I'm not kidding.
It was so magnificent. And a close second, Life of Brian.
Oh gosh, Life of Brian is... Oh my goodness.
Anyway, some people didn't like Life of Brian because they thought it was sacrilegious. I didn't, because I watched it, and they clearly delineated between real Jesus and not Jesus, and what the whole point of the movies was, maybe you shouldn't follow everybody. Maybe you should kind of make sure you use some discretion. You're an individual. Yes, we're all individuals. But anyways, it was a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
But I saw that. But you laugh, you know, you're 27, but you know, you weren't around when it first came out. You've seen it 20 times. You love it. I saw it when it first came out, when it first hit this in theaters. So that's one of my claim to fame, and I just love it, and I would love to meet them. My favorite was always Michael Palin of all of them, though I like John Cleese a lot. And I even have a book that was written about fairies that was signed by Terry Jones. So I actually have a Monty Python who is signed. I didn't get it. It was a gift to somebody else, and I got it. So I ended up with it. But anyways, that's enough to be said. So today, folks, as we are the day before Halloween, we're going to leave that where it was. But it was interesting, the idea of thoughts and fear and whatever, and why do we get scared, and do ghosts really open the magical doors at Lowe's? These are some excellent questions. But the biggest thing we need to understand is that we want to continue to grow as individuals, grow as believers, grow as conservatives, grow as Americans, grow as humans, because there might be somebody watching from another country. And so I always want to bring in artists and people that have a very unique perspective and something that they can teach us and tell us that we wouldn't know any other way. A couple of months ago, if you guys remember, I had a big old mustache, kind of like mutton chops. I was in a movie. The movie was called Jingle Smells, and they did it in 6 days. That's the fastest movie I've ever been on. I think the editing is already finished, and they're actually trying to get distribution maybe for this year. I don't know if they're going to pull it off. That would be magnificent if they did. I've seen some of the trailer. It looks like it's going to be very funny and good, and I'm just shocked how good it looks like it's going to be. And I don't mean that because, I mean, I know the director, he's great, and I know, you know, the writers and everything, but it's just to do something that fast, you feel like it's going to be cobbled and maybe not have the technique it needs. But I think they're pulling it off. So I'll let you know if it ends up out on the streets this next month or two. If it does, it may not. I don't know. I'm not the producer. They don't let me in on it. But I'll let you know so you guys can go see it if you want to. But one of the actors that was in this, that played the lead, Ben Davies is the lead. He was somebody that we interviewed here actually about a year ago. But his dad was played by this actor by the name of John Schneider. Now, I didn't really know, you know, if John would want to talk, but he did. I'm very excited for Karen because she just continues to just be ecstatic whenever I would say John Schneider. She had her little hearts. So she clearly has the hots for John Schneider. So you're going to get to see him. But here's the beautiful thing, guys. He was in this movie with me. And I said, let's talk about it. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your career. Let's talk about being an actor and somebody that was in an episodic, humorous it's not a sitcom because that's 30 minutes. We discussed that. But humorous Dukes of Hazzard in the 70s. And then he went on to play Superman's dad in Smallville and many other things. We discussed a lot of stuff. He had a horrible tragedy. His wife passed away this year, and that's been something that he's really been grasping and grappling with, and it kind of comes up in this interview, and you know, it's important because people go through grief, and so maybe it's good to know that there are ways through it, and it's not easy, it's not simple, and it's okay to grieve because you should. That means you love somebody. But we're going to talk about that. What I do want to tell you guys is this. We're still trying to grow the podcast. We have some other interest of people that might be putting it on a platform that'll help grow it. You guys have been there from the beginning. If you, as we get to the end of the year, would like to give to this ministry as a tax deduction, that's great. We're going to continue to try to do these things and build this and have even more interesting sequences on. Growing it so you can give to that, and I'm sure Karen will put on the old link so you can give to that, and at the end of the year you'll get an invoice for a tax break for your taxes. If you want to be joining the militia of the mind, please do that as well. Be part of the mighty 10,000. These are 10,000 people who give $3 a month to say, let's see if we can fight the good fight for liberties and freedoms, and let this podcast be a way to do that, as well as my live events, because tomorrow I will be heading to Fulton, Illinois, and I will be working this entire week in Illinois. A 5-day tour of Illinois. Go to bradstine.com so you can see where I'm going to be, so you can come see me if you're in the Illinois area. Come on out. I had people when I was just in Illinois this weekend. Some people drove 3 hours to see me. It always amazes me that people would spend time and money and drive hours to see me. So it's always humbling, but I always appreciate it, and I always hope they get their money's worth. So you guys should come on out. I'm also rebuilding a new Illinois tour for January because it was so popular, and I will be trying to put together an Ohio tour, hopefully a New England tour. Wherever we can go. If you know people or churches or people that might be interested in what I have to do, reach out to me and we'll get them on, and we'll try to get a tour. And if it's like, well, I'm in Iowa, but I'm in Sioux City instead of over, I'll try to put the whole thing together. Once I get a church established, I try to add them on and see if we can get ourselves a week's worth. So that's what I do. That's where you can see me live. Karen just did, well, I put up her photo. Did we show her photo? Put Karen's photo up there just once more time, if you would.
All right.
Yeah, just so there she is. Now, she said her pants were so cool. But that's my little Karen. Look at her cool pants, and they are cool. She's got cool shoes, white. Do you think she's an elf? They look like elf shoes.
We can't confirm or deny that.
Yeah, that's true. And who are we to judge? All right, well, come back to me. But anyways, that's my good fan, Karen. Benjamin, Nick Kress came, and did we ever show a photo? Did we ever get a photo with Nick? I don't remember. But if we did, we should have shown that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did.
I did, yeah. And so this is where we are. This is what we're trying to do, folks. And so we have some very interesting guests upcoming. But tonight is going to be a guest that many of you have seen, have heard, have watched over the years as an actor. He's also a Christ follower. He's also a conservative and really loves this country. And it's why I wanted to talk to him. And so I did. And we have a nice, wonderful conversation that I think you're going to enjoy. So, folks, sit back, relax, and Karen, put on your seatbelt. It's him, ladies and gentlemen, Brad Stine and John Schneider. Once again on Brad Stine Has Issues, I always try to bring on guests that are more interesting, more handsome, more fabulous, and certainly more successful than me, which means I can just go to the phone book, and there I am. But the other thing that I think is most interesting, he's already doing the Hollywood. I knew he'd be Hollywood. I knew it. But the thing that I think is most interesting when I started out as an actor was not just acting, which is fun. There are people that enjoy that. It's not for everybody. But one of the things I found most fascinating was when you began to get into projects and you suddenly will find yourself in scenes or acting with people that you grew up watching on television or in motion pictures. So it's kind of surreal, but it's fun and it's humbling and it's exciting. And this particular gentleman that we're about to bring on is somebody that is in that category. Most of you will know who he is immediately, and you certainly have seen his programs that he's been on over the years, but he's got a much richer, interesting life than just that, and that's what we'll be talking about as well. So please welcome, if you will, if he can do this without his sunglasses. We'll see. He's Hollywood. Please welcome John Schneider to Brad Stine Has Issues.
Here we go.
And here we go. All right. There he is. I knew it. I knew it.
I had to do that for you. Let me turn the collar up. Turn the collar up and do what Bert used to do. Turn these back,
Oh my
God. Hey, Brad.
Oh man, it's such a
How are you?
To be with you, my friend. You and I met years ago. I don't know if you remember that, and there would be no reason for you to remember any time spent with me. But we met at a television.
You remember the people you meet in jail?
Yes, man, because they're the ones that got your back while you're trying to sleep before you get a shiv.
Easy. Yeah.
But we were on a TV show years ago, and afterwards we accidentally bumped into each other at the airport, and you said, "Hey, let me buy you a beer." It was probably 10 a.m., so it's like, this is my kind of guy. So,
right.
But off we went to do that. But it was just fun because I think the thing that most impressed me about you, John, was just you were just earthy, down home guy. You were a normal human being who happened to be in the entertainment business, in the performance arts. It's a unique business. It's not for everybody, and it's certainly not something most people can be successful at. It's very difficult business to make a living at. People can get a gig, but to do it regularly and have an absolute episodic consistency or a sitcom or whatever like you did, it's rare. And you did it. You pulled it off. And yet somehow you hung on to being a man with his feet on the ground. Tell me about that, John. What makes you who you are? Why are you such...
What makes me who I are? Wow, my God. Well, I've been doing this a long time. So, people about Dukes of Hazzard think, that's when I started, but I started years before that.
Yeah.
So I started when I was 8 in theater, community theater in Mount Kisco, New York, Katona, New York, doing anything I could. I loved to go to the movies on Saturday, watch a double feature. So I was just singularly focused from the time I was like 8 years old, looking at the big screen or looking at television, watching Lost in Space and Time Tunnel and And those are all before your time.
No. We're the same age, brother. I know exactly what.
Oh,
you're
that's right. You're born in yeah. Okay. So watching all those shows and oddly, not having this thought like, oh, gee, I'd love to be on a television show, or gee, I'd love to be in the movies. My thought was, oh, that's what I'm built to do. You know, it's like when get all heady on you, like when a hammer realizes a hammer is not a nail. Right? I mean, you can hit a hammer with a nail all day, and you're probably not going to build much. But if you turn it around, so you got to figure out what you are. But I say all that because when you grow up doing community theater, you hang lights, you do hair and makeup, you sweep the place up at the end. You have no notion that the people that are standing in the lights are any more necessary than the people who hung them, because you are both those people. So when you start out that way, Wopat's the same way. He started out in theater. He did Broadway. I did Broadway. He did a lot more Broadway than I did. But when you start out that way, I think you have a great appreciation for the whole job. You know, because it's a job. It's like building a house. It's like, you know, everybody's necessary. If the people who dug the hole for the foundation did a bad job, and then the people poured a great foundation, and if anybody screws up, you all suffer. And I've known that, and I still hold on to that. So I've never thought, gee, look at me, I'm really fantastic. I know I only look as good as the lights that people put around me, and I only sound as good as the sound man has skill, or sound woman has skills. And yes, I still do believe there are men and there are women, there are boys and there are girls. If that bothers you,
are you crazy?
Then turn this off. Turn this off
nuts?
Right now. Yes, the man's nuts. Grab him.
Well, listen, I wholeheartedly agree. And again, obviously, my friend, you have much more body of work than I do. But I will say this, though, when I finally started working as an actor, it's something I always wanted to do. So I was honored. It's like, I can't believe this. I'm doing a movie, man. This is crazy. And so I never thought twice about, hey, let me help you grab that, or let me pick this up. Or you'd get in line at craft services and they would say, oh, sorry, get in, like, because you're the actor. I was like, dude, get in line, be my guest. We're just trying to make a movie. And trust me, I got the easy part. You guys are the ones that are doing this for 12 hours, moving crap around, doing this and that. And so I never had the sense of entitlement. I was honored that I got to be in this business. I couldn't believe it. And my first gig, John, that got me my SAG card it's a longer story, and I've told before, and it's not that interesting. Other than my first scene, I had one line, but it got me this SAG card. But it was with James Caan. My first time I ever got, I couldn't believe it. I'm handing in this hot dog.
That's fantastic.
I know. And it was called Poodle Springs. It was an HBO film. He was playing Philip Marlowe at an older age. He got thrown in a drunk tank. I brought him a hot dog and a bottle of whiskey that he asked this. I was just a beat patrolman. So I had one word line and here we sat, blocking it. John, I didn't know anything. I'd never been booked. I didn't know what to do. You're trying to act like you do know what you're doing so you don't get fired, but you're scared to death. Thank God there were some other day players there that helped me ask some questions. But he would say to me, hurry up. And then between takes after we blocked it, and again, I didn't know what was really happening, so I didn't understand what they were creating and setting up. He put his arm out and said, listen, what's your name? And I go, well, John. And I had no name. I was like Cop 3 or whatever it was, you know. And
right.
And but I had been studying in Beverly Hills. I've been doing the work. I broke down my script. I gave myself a name. I did the work. I said, well, I'm John. He goes, no, you're Bob. Anyways, why don't you speed it up? And I said to him, here's the thing, James. I feel like you are this private eye. You get all the girls. Suddenly you're thrown in the dunk tank. I'm just a beat cock. Finally, so I got you behind bars. Screw you. Here's your freaking hot dog. Who's in control now? And he goes, oh, okay. And he let it, and that was the end of that. Now, the only reason I'm saying that to you as an actor is this guy could have had me fired. Anybody could have done this stupid role I had for 10 seconds. But what I felt like he was telling me was, oh, you're an actor. You did the work. Okay, I dig it. You made that note. That's who you are. Be my guest. So have you ever, tell me some stories maybe of some of the actors perhaps that you ended up working with. Maybe you're a little nervous. Maybe you're like, I can't believe this, but what they turned out to, hopefully they're good stories, because oftentimes these older.
Oh, they're great. I would never tell a bad story. I've only had one person I worked with that I thought, I'd really like to not do this again.
I've had that same experience too, by the way.
Yeah, but only one time. Oh no, actually, maybe twice.
Yeah. It wasn't me. I hope it wasn't me.
I did a movie called Eddie Macon's Run, and right alongside Kirk Douglas.
Wow.
Right. So Kirk Douglas and I did the movie, and I remember I got top billing because Dukes was huge at the time, and Kirk was probably not quite my age now. Right. Yeah. This was 1983, and I just couldn't believe it. It was the most amazing thing. He was fantastic. He spent more time with my mom, because my mom was on the set. We shot in Laredo, Texas, because it's a movie where he's chasing me. So there's really we're together like twice. We had 2 scenes together, and that was it. But we're in the movie side by side the whole time. But he's just behind me, as I'm running toward freedom. But I was just totally in awe of him for everything that he did, not just Spartacus. I mean, you just start and stop right there if you want. Spartacus. He was Spartacus. I am Spartacus.
Yeah.
He was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He was the War Wagon with John Wayne, right? He played 2 characters in The Man from Snowy River. So it was just wonderful. So I love working with him. I've met so many people. I just, like you said, most of the people I've worked with don't seem to realize that they're movie stars. As soon as somebody realizes they're a movie star, then I think it becomes problematic, and I think that's when they start to go away. I do believe that that's the beginning of the end for them, because they lose their originality. They lose their curiosity. They lose their, they come to work knowing what they're going to do, because they're basically playing the public's perception of who they are, and you fall into a terrible trap.
Right.
Some people have broken out of that. I think Nicholson did that for a while. I think he started doing Jack Nicholson everywhere he went, and then it just kind of fell apart. And then he did, gosh, that amazing movie where he's driving down the beach with Shirley MacLaine in the Corvette.
Oh yeah, Tears of Endearment. Terms of Endearment.
Terms of Endearment. Yeah. And then that changed, and then So I think there's a problem that you can come into with longevity. I just got a low power message on my phone. There's a thing that comes in with longevity that is problematic, where you start becoming a caricature of yourself.
Yeah.
I think Burt Reynolds fell into that trap, and until right around the last movie he did, which was called The Last Movie Star, which is, if you haven't seen that, my God, it's wonderful. I think that was a problem for him, because he had some troubled times there toward the end. I mean, my gosh, he played Boss Hogg on the Dukes of Hazzard movie. How about that?
Yeah.
But by and large, everybody I've worked with has been fantastic. And now, most of the people, I mean, my God, when I did Dukes of Hazzard, there was Denver Pyle. To me, Denver Pyle was first the man who caught Bonnie and Clyde. Then he was Doris Day's father in the Doris Day Show. Then he was Briscoe Darlin in Griffith. He was Mad Jack in Grizzly Adams. And now he's my Uncle Jesse.
Yeah.
And what a delight. He and I were such great friends, dear friends, gave me wonderful advice about life. Actors don't really talk about acting to actors. It's like singers don't talk about, unless you're writing a song, we don't discuss the process or anything. By the way, if this phone quits, I'm going to run and but I want you to, everybody who's watching this, if you are an actor or an actress, and yes, I still make the designation, deal with it.
Yeah.
There's a book that Laura Caillouette wrote called No Small Parts. And no is spelled K-N-O-W. So it's kind of like what you said. She talks about doing the work. If you've got 100 lines or 2 or 1, know the small part that you're playing.
Yeah.
Flesh it out in your head. It's a wonderful book for folks who like that. Now, the more you do this, you start to think, and Denver Pyle told me this the one thing we talked about acting wise, he said, just throw it away. Don't give it any thought. The less thought you give something, the more you allow the audience to think about it. And I'm a director too. I've been a DGA since '83. And sometimes I'll just have people, I'll say, just look over there and wonder, roll the camera. Okay, you're looking over there? What are you looking, don't talk. What are you looking at? Okay. I wonder if the coffee is fresh. Okay, cut. And then we're going to.
Yeah.
Because I'm also an editor. So, it's kind of like in any craft, eventually you figure out what doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Then you realize, my God, I wasted all that time thinking about all this stuff and I didn't need to.
Yes.
But you need to be doing it. Anything. You don't get that the first day in a construction job.
No. Well,
right.
And I wonder if, when I did a class, they would run through the moments before and bringing down the script and understand. And some of that stuff you do need to know. Clearly, you need to know where you were when you walk into a scene in case it was cold out or somebody was chasing you. Obviously,
all the technical stuff. Yeah.
You got to understand certain things. But one thing that I found interesting, John, was that I found myself in my head a lot, which is an actor's term for I was overthinking it, and it became stunted and it became robotic, and something was broken.
It became acting.
Yes,
acting.
and it felt wrong. And when I started doing films, I realized something. And Ted McGinley, you might know Ted McGinley, the actor. Him and I did a movie together, and I would talk to him like I would to you or anybody that's been around. And I just am interested in actors and people that have more experience, try to learn something. And I was say, hey man, I'm asking you, I don't remember what I asked him, but it's, and you've done this way longer than me. And he said, oh, no, you got great instincts. And it was a nice compliment. But what I realized, John, was that a lot of things that they teach you in acting class, if you're kind of a gifted actor, it's natural to you. You just know this is how I would be, and you become that thing. So sometimes the technique can stunt you because you stop trusting your instincts. You try to turn it into something instead of letting it happen. Have you ever found yourself struggling with a role and somehow finding the challenge to overcome it was simply, like you said, letting it go? Was there one moment you remember that was really difficult for you to figure out?
Early on, I still kind of cringe in Eddie Macon's Run. There's a scene where he finally catches me, and I hop out of a car and I'm angry, and boy, am I acting angry. I'm doing all this, and now I say, I'll go to folks and I'll go like that, and I'll say, you got acting on your shirt. Let's try that again. But yeah, so that was, now in my defense, Kurt was off at a baseball game or a football game. In his contract, it was like Saturday, and he had a game he had to go to. I think he had a niece or, a nephew playing in it. So I was acting to a script supervisor with a piece of tape on her forehead that said Marzak. So that's in my defense. But still, I think I would have done the same thing, because how can I be mad at Kirk Douglas? It's Kirk Douglas. How can I be? It's one of my heroes.
Yeah.
But you have to avoid that. And here's my my quick lesson about acting in a mirror. That's what I call it. So you're at the hotel, you're going to go do a scene today, and you're looking in the mirror and you're saying, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry. You're making all these stupid faces, and you hope to God nobody ever sees you do that. But then you go out in front of a camera and you do exactly that. You think you can figure out what this communication is going to be like and what it should look like on your side. The only time you do anything like that, the only time you memorize dialogue and you practice facial expressions in life is when you're lying. You know, you're going to go tell your girlfriend something, you're going to go tell somebody something that maybe is kind of true, but you can run over it and over it and over it. And they know you're lying. You know, so when you do that in front of a camera, the audience, they won't necessarily say, oh, you're lying. They just say, oh, that actor sucks. So here's the key to John Schneider acting. Listen and respond. That's it. Listen and respond. Get rid of all the other nonsense. Know your lines, right? Pretty much. You know, I've worked a couple of times. It's very difficult. I'm a writer, director, but I'm not married to the punctuation. You know, if it's a joke, and I'll say, look, no, it has to be in this order because it's a joke, and I think it's funny. That one line, all the guy had to say was, look, I want you to do one thing right in a row. And he could not say it. He said, I want you to do one thing right in a row. I said, no, it's one thing right in a row. I want you to do one thing right in a row. No, that's like, just say what I say. But yeah, so I have worked a couple of times. I worked with Linda Bloodworth Thomason, I think was her name. We did a TV show called 12 Miles of Bad Road. And she did it remotely. It was long before we even knew how to do that. So, but she was the writer, and it was like you, and I played a very wordy preacher who, you know, preached when he was asking for a cup of coffee. He'd have some long soliloquy to do. And every dot had to be in the right spot. Every comma had to be, that it drove me nuts. Absolutely nuts. And I think it was the enemy of, again, like we started out, it's the enemy of spontaneity. It's the enemy of curiosity. Yeah. And it's the enemy of acting.
Yeah.
So unless you're working with someone like that, and she's great. She was just married to the punctuation.
Yeah.
I'm not that. I'm not like that.
I don't know if it's because I'm a stand-up comic, so I'm used to kind of being extemporaneous and freeform and just trusting my own beats and instincts, and I just trust myself. I just know what I'm doing. I don't, I can't help that. Yeah. I do. I know what I'm doing. But for an actor who's more used to nailing the lines, and I'll always give them the cue. I'm not going to make up my own thing so they don't know where they're at, obviously. But I've always been very free with the dialogue, adding things that is not there, rewording, because I want it to feel organic to that moment. I've never had a director chastise it. They kind of like that you're creative. They kind of like that you're bringing some life to it. As long as you're kind of where you need to be.
What, if it doesn't work, they won't use it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. If it doesn't work, they won't use it. I tell people, I say, look, don't worry. When I'm going to look at this 1,000 times, and I promise you, I will cut all of the suck out of your performance. I promise you that.
That's a great way.
Because it's your performance, but it's my movie.
You're right. Well, listen,
so I don't want any suck in my movie.
No, that's a funny way. That's a very, very funny.
That's another thing. Young people, or people early in the business don't realize how many hands touch the project after they're done. There's 1,000 pieces in the jigsaw puzzle, and each piece is important, but no piece is any more important than any other piece.
Yeah.
So trust the people that are going to touch it after you, that they know what they're doing too.
Yeah. Well, and they want it to work. I mean, the whole point.
The performance out of your performance. Trying to be great, you will be. I guarantee you, the harder you try to be great, the worse you will be.
everybody wants this movie to work. We're all in this to make money and to have it successful so people will let us do it again. So you have to trust everybody is, has some skin in the game. So tell me a little bit about, because I never did, I guess, what would Dukes have been considered, a sitcom, or what would be the genre that would be called?
No, it would be like the Rockford Files. It would be a
episodic.
Episodic,
yeah,
dramedy.
Okay, so when you do something like that,
my wife and I made some films, and I call them Southern horsepower comedy. I'm sorry, we had a little delay there. I would call it today Southern horsepower comedy, but nobody else would call it that.
No.
But it's an hour long, so it's not a sitcom. Sitcoms, by definition, I believe, are half an hour.
Okay.
I Love Lucy, and which makes the Andy Griffith Show a sitcom, but it was not done in front of a live audience.
Right. Okay.
There's a difference there.
But when you do something like that, so can you tell us, I mean, I'm sure you're sick to death of Dukes of Hazzard questions, so I've kind of tried to avoid that. And I also wonder if someone listen, I'm sure you're grateful for it. It helped get you where you are. But by the same token, I would think a person saying, I did that a real long time ago. There's been a lot more than me to have expressed myself to the public since then, and do you sometimes feel kind of trapped in this older version of yourself? Because my guess is, if you were to do your character today, start all over, he'd be different. He'd be richer. He'd be
older.
He'd be older. But I mean, what do you think you would have learned at your age about that character, Bo Duke, that you couldn't have known then as a young man?
Gosh, I wish I could tell you some great heady thing about that. But I think if I were to play Bo right now, I'd be the same impetuous guy. I'd be a leap before look. I don't think I'd start fights, but I'd finish them. I think I'd be the same, but I'd be a little tired, because I just come from something Bo never had, which was a job, right? So, yeah, I think it would be different in that regard. Somebody hanging on to, but I wouldn't have to act that. I'm 63 years old. I did a movie, Alicia and I did a movie called Stand on It, and then one called Poker Run. And in Stand on It, I go to jump over the hood of a Challenger, hood slide across a Challenger. And I even put a sound effect in, because I jump up and I go, and I say, I used to be able to do that so well. And then I run around the front of the car. So I kind of make fun of myself.
Yeah.
So I might do some of that, but there's no way a 63-year-old can really play a 18-year-old. Now, a 63-year-old can play someone who wants to be 18,
yeah,
and who just can't quite get up the stairs that fast anymore.
Right.
And in there is life, But I wouldn't have to find that. I wouldn't have to act like I was having trouble 12 stairs up a 24 step. I just was in one. That's why I'm bringing that up. I'm here in Madison, Indiana. And I just went up 2 flights of steps. There were 24 steps in each flight of steps. And by the time I got to the 3rd floor, I was
spent.
No way I was going to slide across a hood after that. But so you have to let who you are kind of inform what you do too. Inform. Oh, there's an actor's word. And let me give you my whole theory about why we're so strange and why we do what we do. So normal people who aren't touched in the head like actors are, they have a dominant color. We're all a color wheel. I love your set, by the way. So we all have a color wheel, but everybody has kind of a dominant color, a dominant trait. The easiest thing is, okay, this is an angry guy. I know people who are just angry, right? So that's top dead center, the car talk. So that's top dead center. And that's just kind of where it stays. And they visit other colors on the wheel, but that's all they're doing. They visit them. Their dominant trait, their dominant color is red. What actors can do, what our job is, and what we are good at, And I do think it's a bit of a malady, not a, because actors, because we can do this, we don't necessarily know who we are. Okay, so we can take the color wheel, and we can make our dominant color icy blue. We can stare you down. We can take it and we can make it violent, and we can be the happy guy that delivers ice cream to the kids, or we can turn it to a color where it's the happy guy who's delivering ice cream to the kids that says there's a puppy in the van.
Yeah.
You know, we can turn it to that color too, and so we don't visit those colors. We can turn them, whichever one needs to be turned up top dead center. We can do that. And it's a little strange.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, the reason you and I get along is because we're a little strange. Right?
Well, I wonder though if
I mean, I know you are. I'm assuming I am. I know
that's true. At least they pay me for being strange. At least I get a paycheck for being strange.
When you're strange.
But you know, here's something I wonder though, if you experience this. I don't want to presume it, but your whole analysis of kind of what makes an actor tick. I think growing up, I grew up, came out of divorce, a lot of pain, a lot of brokenness, a lot of difficulty. And I found myself many years ago, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but I do remember having to visit one parent and leave the other to go visit. It just the crap that happens with divorce. It's miserable. Yeah. And I was on a tarmac in Indianapolis. I'm from Indiana. Flying back to my
you know exactly where I am. You know where Madison is.
I do exactly where you're. And but I was in pain because I was leaving my mom and my brothers, and I was going to see my dad, and so I'm torn. They created this world, not me. They got divorced.
Right.
And John, I was crying because I was sad, and I'm 12, 13, too young to navigate emotions. And I said to myself, I'm done. I'm never going to feel pain again. I literally built a wall around my heart to protect me from this crap that I couldn't get through. I was too young, too vulnerable. And so I live my life that way and have spent the rest of my life trying to unbuild that wall and be free to be able to feel.
Trying to tear down that wall.
Yeah. And, you know, it works. You can keep paying out, but it also means you can't push things out. The wall works both ways. So I feel like acting, John, for me, and I don't want to sound Freudian, but I almost wonder.
You did okay.
But you know what? I feel like acting gave me permission to feel things that I wouldn't do personally in real life. It gave me freedom to feel the darker places.
I like that.
So does that resonate with you, or do you think is that just my experience?
No, I think it does. Absolutely. I have always been a very emotional person. I've always been happier than anybody in the room, and I've always been sadder than anyone in the room. And a dear friend of mine, an actor friend of mine who lives at the studio in Louisiana, he lost his wife a couple of years ago, and then came and lived with Alicia and I. And he says, you know, actors are emotional creatures anyway, but people who've managed to be successful as long as you have, me, right? We're even more so. We must be, or we wouldn't be interesting. We wouldn't be interesting. People wouldn't want to watch us. So he said, you are going to, because my wife passed away in February this year. So he said, you are going to feel this worse than anybody I know. But when it gets better, when you see her again, and that's where I go with that, it'll be the greatest reunion. Heaven is you're going to draw a crowd. You're going to draw a crowd in heaven, because heaven ain't never seen a reunion like that. So that's who I am. That's who I've always been. I've never been able to hide it. Never. So even on Dukes, when you see, and I've never had to go back to some period of my life. It's always just joy and extreme joy and extreme sadness is a 1/32 of an inch underneath my skin, always, and anger. I don't have to, but I can dial that. I can dial that up. But I've just always been that way. Songs always made me cry. Songs always made me happy. Music has always had a tremendous effect on my psychology. So I couldn't possibly have been anything but this. I can't possibly do anything but this. Nobody wants some contractor over there listening to Bobby Goldsboro and crying on the roof. I mean, come on.
Well, but does that? But do you feel like if to be that close to your feelings, to be able? And I'll give you, and honestly, I'm a little jealous of you, man, because I wasn't good at crying in front of folks. That is embarrassing to me. But maybe more importantly, I didn't want to show weakness. Maybe, I don't know, but something in me.
It's funny though, when I remember, I'm a big John Wayne fan, and the John Wayne stuff that I remember the most. I remember She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. He cried, and She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. One tear, but he cried. He made that okay. I just started watching The Rifleman again.
Yeah, I love The Rifleman.
On like the 3rd episode or the 4th episode, Lucas McCain is crying because this preacher is going to hang Mark.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like retribution. But he's there crying. I thought, my God.
Yeah.
So early on, even I am that way anyway.
Yeah.
But the shows that I watched, the movies that I watched, said it was okay.
Yeah. Well, that
Ben Cartwright was a hugger. My Jonathan Kent is a hugger. I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
I'm a hugger. I've always been a hugger, and I think sometimes it's made people who are not huggers uncomfortable. But I don't realize that until I've got the hug going. It's like, oh hell.
Well, you know what though?
They're probably not liking this. Well, I'm here anyway. I'm going to finish it.
Yeah.
There's one fly in this room. There's one fly, and it's a big room, and he just wants to hang over here with me.
Well,
maybe I could bathe more often.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that you've been able to use your ability to tap into how you actually are, your feelings in your acting, even watching some of the scenes, because we did this movie together. For those of you who don't know, will be a movie coming out sometime. I don't know when, maybe this year. If they
Jingle Smell.
Yeah, it's called Jingle Smells, and I don't know if they're trying to get it
Jingle
done.
Smell, which sounds like it's really I've seen a bunch of it. It's fantastic.
Well, I gotta be honest. When some of the trailer and stuff, I was pleasantly surprised because it was done in 6 days. That's impossible, and to do it right, and to film it right, and to light it right without rushing. I just like, I don't know how they're gonna. How is this not going to look low budget? I think they pulled this.
No, it looks great. It looks great. But so great that I talked to them. I'm gonna distribute the DVD through my studio, through JohnSchneiderStudios.com. So there's my plug. You want to see Jingle Smells? It's going to be on the air somewhere. I'm not sure. They're a bunch of people, I think, are trying to make deals with them.
I know. Well, and but
it can only land in one place. But if you want to get the DVD, JohnSchneiderStudios.com, you can get the DVD. Not yet, but for Christmas. Christmas
well,
movie.
I remember watching a few of your scenes with Ben Davies on the monitor, and it was fun. You're very natural. I enjoy watching people who aren't acting, who just become well, and you weren't. You're funny. What's that?
Funny. People think that acting is it's a study in memorization, or it's it's a lot of things. There's a whole lot of technical things that go on that you just have to be. Initially, you have to be curious. You have to ask the cinematographer. I'll tell you a quick story about this. First episode of Dukes of Hazzard, I'm cutting a piece of wood, right? So I'm moving, and the camera operator says, "Hey, could you not move so much? It's hard to follow you." And in those days, it's single camera, it's film, and they've got 2 wheels. They're turning. It's not like they do now. This. And I said, sure, but you know, I got to cut this piece of wood. It wasn't in the shop. Didn't have to cut the piece of wood, but you know, my actor said, I said, so isn't, and I mean no disrespect. And I didn't, I was just curious. I said, isn't it your job to follow me? You know, I'm here, so isn't it your job to follow me? And he said, yes. He said, that's a good question. He said, but that is my job, but your job as an actor is to make my job as a camera operator as easy as possible. So I've kept that in my head. My job as an actor is to make your job as an actor as easy as possible. My job is to be as natural as I can be so that you in turn will be natural, so that you will say something that surprises me because I am what? Listening and responding.
Yeah.
And then it just escalates, and it's wonderful.
But
remember, I come from a single camera background, though.
Yeah.
Nobody today even knows really what that is. And I'm talking about film. You know, you couldn't just roll and then talk and then you had a 1,000-foot magazine, and it was like 26 cents, I think, a foot to process it. So if you had a take that was circled, that meant they were actually going to print it. They'd go in, they'd cut that take out of the 1,000-foot magazine. They would develop that take and that take only, and nothing on either side of it. So there was a lot to know about efficiency that nobody today needs to know anymore. Yeah. Directors don't need to know. There's a whole lot of the art of it, the immediacy of it, that made it so you had to be good and damn it right now. That doesn't exist anymore. But that is why people who've been doing it as long as I've been doing it, or as much as I've been doing it, people who started from a single camera background, folks that directed Dukes of Hazzard directed Gunsmoke. They directed The Rifleman. Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah. My battery just made a noise again.
Well, you're still here. If we can hang on.
I'm still here. So if it quits, I will. I've got to have to charge this back up and then get back to you.
Okay, that's good. As long, I mean, I'll be happy to re-engage. I'd love to continue this is a wonderful discussion.
Well, what time is it? We might be at about our hour.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes. So you think you got 15?
Let's see what happens.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
So you said something interesting.
Yes, because of that, because the people that taught me as a 18-year-old, 19, 20-year-old actor on Dukes, they were people that basically invented television. Yeah. They had come from radio. So Billy Asher directed every episode of Bewitched and was married to Elizabeth Montgomery. Mm. So Dick Motor, oh my God, he directed so many things. So anyway, they were eager to share their love of the process of the craft with new people who were curious about it. Yeah. And I was always curious about it. So I learned so much on Dukes that I have since, and what I learned was what doesn't matter. Mm. Right? Oh, don't worry about that. Oh, well, there was a C-stand. Well, so what? Especially now. I mean, my God, people are shooting 6 and 8K. Yeah. And they're redoing shots, wasting time because somebody accidentally got the leg of a C-stand on the bottom left-hand side of the frame. And I said, well, my God, there's that fly. You can blow this thing up 16 times before you lose any quality at all. And you're worried about that? Yeah. Yeah. You know, why don't you watch what we're doing? Right. See if you liked what we said. See if you liked how we said it. And if we did, move the hell on, you moron. Sorry, that's just me, you know, I am. There we go. Well, getting a little red, top dead center.
But that's why
I will not suffer fools. I will not suffer fools.
But that's why you're a good actor, is because you are open to the moment. This is how I feel now. It needs to be spoken of like this, so we can move forward, because it does. It can be laborious. You do want to move quickly without sacrificing quality, and can be a problem.
But, you know, but again, you know, they're going to cut this scene together. So yeah, you know, it's not all about you. I don't care if you're number one on the call sheet. and you've got more to say than anybody else in this scene. It's not all about you.
That's right. That's right.
It's about everybody.
Yeah.
And
Well,
my other actor theory here, you'll get this. My big thing, young actors will say, "Oh, can I do it again? That wasn't any. That was, or how, that third take was really good." Usually, the one that you remember the most is the worst one.
yeah.
It's the worst one because you're acting in a mirror.
That's right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
So my theory is that if I tell people, a director will say, "Were you happy with that?" I said, "I don't know. I don't remember it. So it's probably good."
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can remember your performance, I guarantee you it wasn't any good.
That's right.
Unless you're playing someone who's full of shit.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
You're playing a car salesman, and you're all car salesman. You're doing all your car salesman stuff. Then sure, you can remember that because your character is bogus.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're having a wonderful scene with your son or your daughter, your wife, your grandpa, and you can remember what you said and how you said it,
yeah,
I bet you that was the worst performance you did, not the best.
I think that you're absolutely right. I've seen that even in my comedy when I would film it, and there were moments when I felt like, oh, I nailed that. That was a great crowd. Blah, blah,
you
blah.
think you killed? You just think you killed it.
Killed, and then you watch and you go, oh, that was I thought that was a lot better. And then there's times when you go, oh my God, something was wrong. I missed it. And you watch and you go, oh, that was pretty good. I don't know what it is about us misperceiving what's actually taking place, but it is something that happens regularly. And it must be just, I think that actors and performance artists, we care about authenticity. We care. We're not trying to act. We're not trying to counterfeit reality. We want to actually create reality. We want you to not be watching me act well. I want you to look through my mirror in my living room and watch me in behavior in real time. And to be able to tap into your emotions is what I said I admire about you. You said that, you're an open book and your heart's on your sleeve. I remember at one point during when we were filming, I just, I remember you had moved your studio to Louisiana. I said, how's your studio? I was just trying to have small talk. And it, I guess, reminded you of your wife, and it was a touching moment for you. And it was kind of like, and I'm like, what did I say? My apologies. Please forgive me. I like, it was so out of the blue, and I felt like I made a horrible mistake. But I think there's something beautiful, John, too, especially a man like you. You're a strong man. You're a patriot. You're a warrior. You're courageous, and you're open to say, but you know what? This hurts. I'm going to feel this for a second, and that's inspiring. That was my John Wayne's tear, is that this dude doesn't give a crap. Right. Here's where I am, and you happen to be here with me, so here's what we're getting, and
that's right. Yeah.
Well, and that's okay though. But listen, aren't we at that age?
It's got to be okay.
Yeah.
It's got to be okay. And I'm assuming a lot of actors and actresses watch this podcast. So it's okay. Act. If all else fails, act. Okay. It's a tremendous disservice calling us actors or actresses anyway. We should be called reactors.
Yeah.
We should be called reactresses. Right. Because acting indicates to me, the word acting indicates there's some sort of falsehood there. There's some fabricated reality. Yes, there is a fabricated reality. It is a script. It is a schedule. It is all that. But those of us who are fortunate enough to be in front of the camera have to, at least for a period of time, believe it.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people. Oh, you're great. I don't know an actor, but I'm very gullible. I can make myself believe I'm pretty much anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
So I'm still, Alicia called me her forever 4-year-old. And it's true. I'm a big guy. I can play somebody 63, but really there's a 4-year-old in there who is very excited, who is very sad, who gets mad like a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
About this damn fly. I want to be fast like a 4-year-old.
Well,
So don't let anybody convince you that you are acting. Okay, that it's a falsehood.
Yeah. Well, what a wonderful,
because I believe that'll hurt your ability to be real. Now, there are some people, some people that can just read all their lines off of cards and get hell with everybody else.
Well,
I don't care for that. I don't care for that.
Yeah,
but
that can be.
Especially, yeah.
I don't think
I've seen a performance and it's fantastic. So
the
really? the director in me says, look, I don't care how you get what I want as long as I get what I want. Doesn't matter to me.
True enough.
Ultimately it doesn't matter. I worked with a great actor that would say his lines over and over and over and just give different inflections. Now, Kirk Douglas would do 3 different performances. Paul Newman did a movie. They shot it at my brother's house back in 1991. Gosh, I can't remember. Bruce Willis was in it. Melanie Griffith was in it, and they shot it at my brother's house. A bunch of it, and he would do 3 takes. He'd do one kind of whatever 3 different ways, but they'd be distinctly different. And then so he gave the director and gave the editor what they needed to build whatever they wanted. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Great. But this other guy I worked with, who I was a big fan of, I still am, but it was I think it was kind of selfish. He would just do his lines 3 or 4 or 5 different ways, each time. So completely screwed up any of anybody else's timing or anybody else's process or anything. Yeah. But I tell you what, when the camera finally turned around on me and I needed to tell him basically to go to hell, I told him, I was so pissed. So I was very thankful at the end of it.
Yeah.
But, however you do it, I don't care. Especially now, the way people understand that we're shooting something that's going to be edited together.
Yeah.
So it's not a play. It doesn't have to be a stellar performance from beginning to end. It just has to be, once we cut it together, it just has to look, we're fabricating reality, right? So,
well, in a way,
we're on.
But
and the more we know about how it works, the stranger we sound to people. I know I just sound very strange.
Well, and I think that we're doing a service when you can allow people to experience things that they need some help doing sometimes. And I'm talking from personal experience. I mean, here's the thing. We're getting close to the end of our interview, and you've been very gracious, and I appreciate it. So it was an honor talking to you. And
at this point, if my phone quits, I'm going to say goodbye to you now. If my phone quits. So make your point, and if I go away, which I'm not planning on, continue to make your point and just pretend I'm listening.
I will. I'm gonna leave it with this, John. We're both kind of the same age. We're getting to the legacy part of our life where we're leaving behind whatever is left. Here's what we have. I've always said and learned, you learn more from pain than pleasure. Unfortunately, that's where we learn. So I'm going to leave you this. You're a God follower. You're a Christ follower, as am I. You're an actor. You're a musician, which is another way to help people feel. John, we're watching America circling the drain. I mean, we're watching things we've never thought we'd see in our lifetime. So I got to ask you, is the pain worth it?
Is the pain worth it? You talking about politically now, or just
life?
The pain is open.
Just the life that we have to experience, the things that God puts upon us.
The pain is absolutely worth it because I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going, right? So I know the pain is temporary. Doesn't make it hurt any less, but I know it's temporary. I know where I'm going. I know who will meet me there, right? And just until I've just recently, in the last 2 weeks, really, not wanted to rush that. I'm not in a hurry because I know when I get there, whether I'm here for 30 more seconds or 30 more years, when I get there, none of that's going to matter anyway. None of it. I'll be there like that. And it'll be like, what the hell was I so worried about? But now it hurts. What's happening in our country hurts. The good news about what's happening in our country, though, is that it's being done intentionally. So we're not being fooled. Our system has not failed us. Our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our Declaration of Independence has not failed us in any way. We have an administration that has chosen to rape and pillage those three wonderful documents at their whim. We have an administration who has forgotten that they are working for us. We don't work for them. They do not have the right not to answer a question.
Right.
They have to answer the question or get the hell out. Okay? They have to be that way. They're not that way right now. This will change. They are showing their they're showing their soft underbelly, and we know they're bought by communist China. We know that. We know we gave Iran the tools to give to Hamas to destroy Israel. We know that they did that. This is not a question. This is a fact. It's right there. So we can fix it. We have to fix it. We're not going to fix it tomorrow. I hear some people, some rumblings that perhaps we'll be able to get rid of Biden and put some sense back in the White House, like before the end of this year. But we can't even get a freaking speaker. So, you know, there are things that are happening right now that are terrible, but we will fix them, because our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, these are wonderful documents that are they are touched by the hand of God. The folks that wrote those words, weren't their words. They were inspired by God. And God is a whole lot stronger than Biden and his crime family. He's a whole lot stronger than communist China. He's stronger than God can take it. We just have to, as patriots, as people who love this country, we have to be willing to take it back. Okay? We have to do that. There's certain things we'll wait for right now. We just had an election cycle in my state. We've had election cycles in a bunch of states. Let's see what happens there. Let's see if our states individually get stronger, because we are the United States. We are not just a country. We are a voluntary association of states who have joined together because we believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We believe that the United States is an example to the rest of the world who is oppressed, that freedom does indeed exist, and it is possible. Yeah. We cannot fall. If we fall, we are now falling, but we won't hit the ground. We won't. But we have to do it. We have to do the work. But if the United States of America falls, the world falls. It's over. There is no freedom anymore.
That's right.
And then I guess if that happened, God would say, okay, that's it. Come on, out of the pool. But we can't let that happen. And we won't, because there are people like you, because there are people like me who don't just kind of think this is kind of a cool country and a great place to live. No, I think we are the shining light on the hill. I think we are God-inspired so that the rest of the world can dream. And we will not let that fail. It can't fail. That's all I got.
Well, that's enough. I appreciate you being a patriot. As I've said many times on my podcast, I do not worship the United States of America. I worship God Almighty, but I am grateful for the greatest nation the world has ever known. I will fight for it. I'm responsible for the territory I was given.
I will die for it.
Yeah, well, I would too. And we're at a place where those aren't platitudes now. We're at a place where
we're there. We are 1776.
And that's okay. That's what the second was invented for. That's what the first was invented for. The freedom that life, sometimes there's things more important in life than life. And that's what we're learning. And certainly as Christ followers.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
I already got it locked down.
Yep.
So I'm good. I'm just leaving some crumbs to follow me home because I'm passing through anyways. But while I'm here, I'm going down like a man, and I'm going down swinging back. That's just what it means. But folks, I want you to.
But we're going to leave a mark. My dad would say, everybody who's here is going to leave a mark. It's up to you to make sure that mark is not a stain.
Amen. Well, you had a good father that brought you up right, folks. This has been John Schneider, graciously taking time off of a movie set to say hi to us. Folks, you got to fight together. The militia of the mind is what we're doing. It's called the Peasants' Revolt. We are going to fight like men and women for America. whatever God allows or doesn't
Love
allow
it.
to happen on this nation, here we sit. Join, go to BradStine.com, become part of the mighty 10,000. We will fight. We will defend each other. I'll pray him, I'll fight him, outlast him until Jesus comes back. Remember, if they ever tell you you're politically incorrect, tell them thank you for the compliment, because political correctness is evil, cancerous, and PC free is liberty. And this is God's comic, Brad Stine, and all I'm doing is putting the woke back to sleep. God bless you.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, let me get my, hang on. All right.
John Schneider signing off.